Have you been thinking about building a physical media collection? Well, I've been collecting physical media for years now, and I wanted to share some of the pros and cons of building a large physical media collection. So let's start with some of the positive aspects. So one of the main benefits of collecting physical media in general and building your own collection is the ownership aspect of physical media. We live in a world where it's getting harder and harder to really own anything, and that's unfortunate. This is because companies realize that a subscription-based model is much more profitable for them than a basic sales model where they sell a product that you can pay a price to own permanently. And so we're seeing all kinds of companies ranging from movie streaming services, music streaming services, video game companies. They're all moving to streaming subscription models where you have to pay a monthly or annual fee in order to use their services. And we're seeing things happening like you can't buy certain video games physically anymore. You have to get them digitally or subscribe to a service to use them. And so this is a concerning trend, but we do still have the opportunity to buy physical media and build our own collection and own that permanently. And while it may seem at first like this is a more expensive option, that's not necessarily true, being that you have permanent ownership. So this is something to keep in mind. We're also seeing that these streaming services are slowly increasing their prices as well. So for example, services like Netflix and Apple Music, they originally started out with pretty low prices to where it was a great deal to subscribe to one of these services and get access to a bunch of things to watch. But then over time, they slowly increased their prices a little bit at a time to where there's a slightly higher monthly cost. And that really adds up over time, especially when they're offering less and less on the services to make that worth it and putting more restrictions on how many people can use the same account. And so when you factor in that, you think about it, they're making thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars more just from those little small price increases because of how many people subscribe to those. And it costs us more and more just to watch whatever they allow us to watch on those services. And on the contrary, if we were to buy our physical media, you can purchase a movie or a TV show and watch as many times as you want for paying one price, which could be very low on the used market, for example. And on that note, secondly, buying your own physical media and building your own collection gives you a lot more control over what you can watch. The way that streaming services work is they have a licensing model where the different shows and movies that are available on a streaming service like Netflix, for example, are there because of licensing agreements that Netflix has with different studios where they're allowed to show certain movies for a certain amount of time to their subscribers and they pay a certain price for that. And then, of course, every streaming service will have their own proprietary shows and movies that they make themselves or that they have exclusive to their own streaming service. But really, at any time, things can be taken off of these streaming services or they can be modified or edited. Whereas if you buy your own copies on physical media, you're getting the original film the way it was made and it can't be changed. And it can't be taken away from you unless you decide to sell it, which has some benefits for you. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind is even if at first it may seem like paying for a subscription service is a better deal than purchasing individual titles, over the long run, it's really not, and you never know if you're going to be able to watch your favorite titles again, even if they're on a streaming service now. And, there's a lot of people that miss having rental stores like Blockbuster around, and really, when you build your own collection, it's kind of like having your own personal Blockbuster. I have my own collection of movies where I have a couple thousand of them, and I can just go to my shelves anytime and browse through them and look at the different sections and genres I have and choose a movie off the shelf I'd like to watch and put it in my player anytime. And it gives you that same kind of feel as if you're going into a movie rental store like Blockbuster and browsing the shelves for something interesting to watch. And you can also still go to many used record stores that sell movies and pick up different used copies of movies and get that same kind of fun experience of walking around and searching for your favorite titles. Now, the third point I want to make here is for the true home theater enthusiasts. collecting physical media allows you to see your favorite shows and movies or whatever form of media on the highest format possible. So if we're talking about movies here, you can get 4K Blu-rays, which have the highest resolution possible. They have HDR, they have great Dolby Atmos and DTS tracks a lot of times. And if you have a nice home theater system that takes advantage of all these latest technologies, then you're going to have the best experience possible by buying physical media. When you get a streaming service, even if it says it has a 4K resolution or uses Dolby Atmos or HDR, all of that stuff is compressed and is not going to look or sound nearly as good as it would coming from an actual disc. And it goes the same with CDs versus streaming services. I mean, streaming services are getting better and better. Apple Music, for example, does have some really high quality streams on their service, but still there's something to be said about the physical music formats. Some people prefer records, some people prefer CDs, but those have very high quality audio on them in their own way. And so I'd say with music more of a preference, but you are losing something by going just with a streaming service. And the same thing happens with music streaming as well, where they can modify or take away your favorite songs and albums at any time. And another thing you can do when you own your physical media is you can actually rip your CDs and movies onto a hard drive or home server and basically create your own streaming service where you still have all the highest quality that you would off of the disc, but you have it all saved on a server to where you can access it like a streaming service anytime. There's lots of videos out there on YouTube that explain how to do this. I haven't done it myself, but it is a benefit that you have that option if you're collecting physical media too. And I know a lot of people have benefited from doing that and really enjoy that process. So keep that in mind as well. With all that being said, it's not all positives building a physical media collection though. There are some downsides I want to share with you. So the major thing that'll come up first is buying physical media and storing it takes a lot of storage space. With my collection of over 2,000 movies now, I have multiple bookshelves where I'm storing my movies, and it takes a good amount of space in my living area, but personally, I like this. I like having all of my movies lined up on shelves to look at and to be able to display things on top of the shelves, and that's all part of the experience to me. But not everyone may have a space where they're able to do this, and this is a consideration that should be taken seriously if you're considering building out a collection. And how I would handle this if I were getting started again today is maybe build out one shelf or storage medium at a time. So if you're using bookshelves, buy one bookshelf, slowly build out your collection of movies on it, and then expand to a second one when it's time to. Or if you're using something like boxes or bins, that's another way you can do it too. Just go one at a time and slowly build your collection that way. And then over time, you can kind of understand how much space you actually have to store these things and what makes sense for you. It can be overwhelming if you just get a bunch of movies first and then don't know where to put them. You just have them stacked around everywhere. So definitely look at storage solutions first before you just start buying a bunch of movies, because you want to stay organized, and this will be more of an enjoyable experience that way. If you just have movies sitting everywhere, you're going to feel like your house is cluttered and it's not going to be as enjoyable, and it can almost seem like a burden to collect physical media, and that's not what we want. We want this to be a fun hobby that you enjoy. So in the description down below, I'll be sharing some great storage solutions with you that I would recommend. I personally use some inexpensive bookshelves that I got from Target, which works fine for me, but there are some much higher quality options out there, like I said, that I'll put in the description down below that you can look into. Because there's a lot of different ways you can do this, from putting shelves on your walls to bookshelves to a lot of different things. So I'll give you a lot of options to look at in the description. All right, now the second downside that you want to consider is there is some upfront cost associated with collecting physical media because of the equipment that you need to buy to fully be able to appreciate it. What I mean by this is, for example, if you want to collect Blu-rays or 4K Blu-rays, you're going to need Blu-ray players that will play that media. You'll need a TV that takes advantage of that higher resolution and video and audio, and then also you want to have a quality sound system that allows you to take advantage of that higher quality audio too. And so all those things that have an upfront cost that you have to pay for in order to really be able to appreciate your physical media collection. And of course you could go with a lower format like DVDs, which is cheaper, doesn't require as much of the extra equipment. But you know, when it comes to this, there also are a lot of things you probably already have in your house that will play these. Like for example, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox One and Series X will already play 4K Blu-rays, which is really cool. And then more and more lower end like sound bars are starting to have Dolby Atmos and different technologies like that. You won't be able to fully appreciate them until you go to a full sound system with multiple speakers around your room, which I do have a video I made talking about Dolby Atmos and how to take advantage of that you can check out. But these are all considerations you need to make before building your collection, because you want to make sure you can appreciate the media that you're collecting to its fullest extent. Now, the last downside to building a big physical media collection is it may be difficult for you to stay organized. And I don't mean, storing the items. We already talked about that with the shelves. But what I mean is being able to find the movies that you want to watch when you want to watch them. And so I did make a video where I talked about the best way to organize and keep track of your physical media collection. And there's a lot of great apps and online websites you can use to do this. But I would also say it's a good idea to keep your movies in potentially both genre sections and then also have them alphabetized. I haven't alphabetized my collection yet personally, but I do have them organized by genre, and I'm pretty happy with that so far. But these are things you want to take into consideration too if you're building out a collection, because it can be frustrating to want to watch a specific movie and then not be able to know where to find it. And that's another reason to use something like bookshelves to make them easier to find. But there's a lot of great ways to track your collection, and again, the video I have linked above will share my favorite way of doing that. So in conclusion, I'm really happy with my large physical media collection. It's a lot of fun for me to continually grow my collection over time, watch movies, sell some of them, and continue to build from there. And I hope this video is helpful in kind of giving you some tips and pointers if you want to build your own collection. I do highly encourage it, but it's important to plan and handle it the right way so you don't get overwhelmed. And let me know in the comments below too if you have any additional tips and tricks if you've been collecting physical media for a while. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below to stay updated with the latest videos I have releasing. I typically make videos like this, sharing tips and tricks, but also I share videos talking about physical media sales as well as new physical media releases. And I love hearing from you in the comments, but other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and keep watching those movies.